Are you putting your child on a gluten-free diet without a diagnosis and unknowingly trading nutrients for heavy metals?
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at Mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're taking a clear look at the hidden risks of unnecessary gluten-free diets in children, what the latest research actually shows, and how you can make safer choices without fueling food fear.
I'm Alara Sky. This conversation centers on two findings. First, that gluten-free eating without a medical reason can create nutrient gaps and microbiome changes. Second, that rice-heavy gluten-free patterns can raise children's exposure to arsenic and other metals within months.
Gluten-free diets were created for celiac disease, wheat allergy, and non-celiac gluten sensitivity. For these diagnoses, avoiding gluten is essential. But when gluten is removed without medical necessity, the evidence shows increased risk of deficiencies in protein, fiber, iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, folate, and vitamins B, 12, and D, and that can affect growth and neurological development.
Researchers reviewing studies from 1990 to 2025 found many packaged gluten-free foods are calorie-dense, higher in sugar and saturated fat, and lower in protein and fiber. They also tend to have a higher glycemic index, which can push cardiometabolic risk upward over time, instead of improving health as many parents hope.
That review also flagged psychological strain. Strict, unnecessary restrictions can trigger disordered eating patterns, particularly in adolescents and females, and these symptoms can mimic celiac disease, delaying the correct diagnosis parents are seeking in the first place.
On the microbiome, long-term gluten-free eating, especially when it reduces whole grains and fermentable fibers, was linked to lower levels of beneficial bifidobacteria and lactobacilli. When you pull out fiber-rich staples without replacing them wisely, you risk undermining gut diversity that supports immune balance.
Whole food gluten-free patterns can be done better when medically required. The recommendation there is to focus on naturally gluten-free whole foods like fruits, vegetables, and gluten-free grains such as quinoa, buckwheat, and amaranth, rather than relying on packaged gluten-free snacks to fill the plate.
A separate signal comes from children newly diagnosed with celiac disease who switched to gluten-free eating. Within 6 months, urinary arsenic rose to 5 times baseline, with increases in cobalt, nickel, strontium, and barium as well. Levels weren't acutely toxic, but the concern is chronic, low-level exposure that accumulates over years.
Rice is the likely driver because it absorbs arsenic from soil and water and shows up in breads, crackers, and cereals used to replace wheat. The takeaway for medically necessary gluten-free diets is to diversify grains instead of relying primarily on rice-based products.
Gluten itself is widely misunderstood. For people without celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, gluten-containing grains can contribute fiber, B vitamins, magnesium, and phytochemicals. Large cohort studies associate 2 to 3 daily servings of whole grains with lower risks of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and premature death, and avoiding gluten without cause may reduce whole grain intake and remove those benefits.
Marketing has painted gluten as a universal culprit for bloating or inflammation, but that narrative isn't supported for most people. The growth of the gluten-free market outpaces genuine medical need, which suggests belief in branding are driving choices that can unintentionally narrow nutrition.
If your child doesn't have a confirmed diagnosis, a personalized approach is smarter than blanket restriction. Work with a clinician to rule out celiac disease and wheat allergy first. If tests are negative, focus on rebuilding tolerance with whole foods and tracking symptoms in a brief journal, rather than shrinking the diet out of fear.
If you do need to eat gluten-free, manage arsenic exposure from rice more carefully. White basmati from India, Thai jasmine, and California. Grown white rice generally contain lower levels of hazardous metals. Soak rice at least 30 minutes. Cook it in 6 to 10 cups of water per cup of rice, then drain it like pasta to cut arsenic substantially.
It's also worth skipping parboiled, instant, and heavily packaged rice products. Convenience often comes with more contamination and fewer nutrients. Cooking whole, unprocessed rice at home gives you better control and reduces unnecessary exposures.
There's an assumption that brown rice is always superior. That isn't universal. Brown rice retains outer layers that can hold heavy metals and higher linoleic acid. For many people, especially with inflammation or metabolic issues, well-prepared white rice can be easier to digest and a cleaner starch choice.
If you eliminated gluten but still feel foggy, bloated, or uncomfortable, gluten may not be the core problem. Support gut repair at the cellular level by including healthy carbohydrates from ripe fruit, white rice, and root vegetables. A practical target offered here is about 250 grams of carbs per day from these easier-to-digest sources while you work on tolerance.
Another lever is fat quality. Seed oils like soybean, canola, safflower, and sunflower are high in linoleic acid, which can damage mitochondria and weaken the gut barrier. Keeping daily linoleic acid below 5 grams, closer to 2 grams when possible, reduces that burden and supports steadier cellular energy.
Your gut-brain connection also matters. If eating has become threatening, digestion slows before you take the first bite. Before meals, take slow breaths and remind yourself that food is nourishment. Rebuilding confidence helps restore normal reflexes that support comfort after eating.
Here's today's challenge. Before you change your child's diet, schedule testing to rule out celiac disease and wheat allergy. Then, for the next 2 weeks, log meals, symptoms, and stress levels. If gluten-free eating is medically required, rotate away from rice-heavy products. Choose lower arsenic white rice varieties. Soak and boil rinse your rice, and emphasize naturally gluten-free whole foods. Thank you for watching Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.